Bueno, pues después de nuestro largo viaje desde el primer escenario al segundo escenario, espero que hayáis podido descansar del viaje. Vamos a presentar una ponencia que desde luego para mí es un honor presentar esta ponencia. Se trata de Ana Ros, que viene de Eslovenia, del restaurante Hiša Franko. El tema de la ponencia versa sobre los sabores con identidad, el territorio como fuente de innovación gastronómica y, evidentemente, la cocina del restaurante Hiša Franko. Como os decía, para mí es un honor presentar a una de las cocineras más admiradas y respetadas del panorama internacional. Ana Ros nació en Eslovenia y, aunque su vida pudo haber seguido los caminos de la diplomacia o del esquí de competición, acabó encontrando su verdadera pasión entre los fogones. Autodidacta, visionaria y profundamente arraigada a su territorio, ha transformado el restaurante familiar Hiša Franko en un templo gastronómico mundial. Hoy cuenta con 3 estrellas Michelin y una verde, en reconocimiento a su compromiso ejemplar con la sostenibilidad. En 2017 fue nombrada mejor cocinera del mundo y desde entonces no ha dejado de sorprender con una cocina que mira al valle del río Soka como un universo de posibilidades. Con todos ustedes y todas ustedes, desde Eslovenia, la chef Ana Ros. Ana Ros, tus fogones, tu escenario, estamos deseando oírte.
Okay, so nice to meet you. I will speak in English because my Spanish is a little bit African, so...
Okay, no problem, my English too.
Your English is actually amazing. First of all, it's an amazing honor to be here. It's such a beautiful city. Like, I can't stop myself saying every second to say how beautiful the city is. So it's really a beautiful place. It reminds a little bit climate-wise to Slovenia. So this rain and sun that comes and goes. I have my first tattoo. I don't have a lot of them. It says like after every rain the sun comes out. So I think we are somehow like trying to hold for an hour the rain away. So I think I would like to start with, I'm sorry for my voice, I'm just after like a nice virus because it has been cold in Slovenia too. I would like to explain you a little bit about Slovenia because very often people say, you are from Slovenia, so this is like Slovakia or this is like Russia, and I'm like, no, it's completely different. So, because my cooking depends on the country where I come from, on the territory, on the climate, I feel always an honor to explain what Slovenia really is. It's a tiny, small country, only 2 million people. So if you meet a Slovenian, you can feel honored. If you speak Slovenian, you should be honored. We have a dual, which means that we speak for 2 men and 2 women in a different grammatical order. However, you can cross Slovenia in 2 hours from north to south and 3 hours and a half, maybe from west to east, which of course makes it a small country, but it is also geographically very diverse. Somebody said to me yesterday that Spain should be the most geographically diverse country in the world, and I said, no, it's not so. It's Slovenia. It's because you actually ski on 2,500 meters, and you can see the shine of Adriatic Mediterranean Sea. You can count the boats on the sea. This is how also the food gets diverse, because in the mountains we have alpine diet, and then just maybe half an hour away you already have a Mediterranean one. So going from roebuck and deer and wild boar to sardines and anchovies or / mackerel, sea bass, whatever. And then if you look at the geographical position of Slovenia, we are like somehow embraced by very big cultural identities as Italy on the west. I live on the Italian border. I need exactly 3 minutes to get to Italy and have aperitivo with Aperol Spritz or whatever on the other side of the border. But on the north, we are having a long border with Austria, which means Viennese cuisine. Beef broths and potato dumplings, and which influenced a lot Central Europe. On the south, the border with Balkans, so it means grill and lambs and pork and yeah, especially young pork, and very little border with Hungary, with lowlands, where all the grains from Slovenia come from. So if you do a calculation of whatever I'm talking about, it's actually fun because all these influences somehow mix up. It means like the borders have always been changing. It has been happening in Spain too. So it means that like where I live now has been Austro-Hungarian Empire, has been Italy, has been Yugoslavia, has been the country of Serbs, Slovenes and Croats, is Slovenia now, and we don't even know who we really are. My blood is completely mixed. I have maybe half Italian blood, pretty some French blood, some Slavic blood, some Austrian blood, and now define me. Who am I? And that's why when you see a Slovenian, it's actually fun because you can't define them. When I traveled with my children, when they were really small, we were backpacking throughout the world, and that was like the highlight of our life, I would say. People were always saying like, are you Brazilians or Portuguese? And I was like, no, we are Slovenians. And they are like, because this sound of sh that we are using has this Latin sound after, and it sounds like really Portuguese / Brazilian. And plus you can define us like figures. We are blonde and we are dark-skinned and we are dark and like light skin. So I'm explaining that because that's the definition of actually the food that comes from Slovenia, because people sometimes ask me, what is your traditional food? And I'm like, if you say Gilda in Spain and you get it everywhere, like in Slovenia, there is nothing. We are just mixed up completely. So today, Jure will join me later on the stage. We will present you something that I really believe that needs to be a definition of the cuisine of a restaurant, which is connected to A, legacy, B, the territory, C, the vision of the chef, and then, of course, the flavor that should somehow entertain people. So my story is fun. I'm actually trained diplomat. I studied international science and diplomacy in Italy. I come from a very ambitious family where everybody has been diplomats or lawyers or doctors. And so after my high school and I quitted skiing, I was skiing almost professionally. And I was dancing, so I quitted skiing because of dancing, so I thought I would study dance. But finally, I got like a neurological injury and I needed to quit dance and skiing. And then it was like, now what? Like, yeah, diplomacy looked like I just came from a family trip from Africa, and I thought like, I'm very empathic. I would always like to be there for people and help people. And I thought that this would be a great thing, and it somehow fitted like the philosophy of the family. But at the end of the studies, I met my ex-husband. We are divorced since 8 years, but I still live in his house together with his parents. We I was like somehow diplomacy looked like something that I could do something good for the world. And when I finished studies, I met my ex-husband, and that was one of the first big crossroads in my life when I somehow said, like, I will follow my heart and not my brain. So I lied to my parents all the time about getting a job in Brussels and become, you know, a great diplomat who is saving the world. And I decided to stay in the valley. There is a very famous sentence, or actually a story that happened between my mother and myself. My mother is a very famous journalist in Slovenia. She was writing for the biggest Slovenian newspaper. And we went to the river, and she said, like, so you are staying? And I was like, yeah, I'm staying. I'm not going to Brussels. And she was like, fine, so, but you're not cooking, right? And I was like, no, I don't know how to cook. And she was like, okay, you better not cook. So it comes from the big gap that we have in our country, and it makes part of probably a big gap of all the countries that were in a socialist or communist system, where my mom sometimes says, like, we lost 50 years of culture, tradition, legacy, and art of the table, together with everything of that. So when I was in the university, to think about sending a kid to study gastronomy or gastronomic culture was like unthinkable, because that was like the thing you would never do to your child. It's like intelligence zero, and probably, yeah. It was someone who cannot do anything else but like studying cooking. And so for my parents, the idea of someone who works so hard at school to go and work in gastronomy at the end looked like the most probably shameful idea for the family. If today is different, yes, it is. I think I was a part of a generation that changed a little bit of the mindset. But, you know, if Spain, together with Italy, France, makes part of a big culture of gastronomic culture. I don't know, Japan, I was just listening to the chef before, and I really loved his speech. For us, it's still like a kind of like not a defined profession. And therefore, even if it looks like I'm moving the walls around, Michelin came to Slovenia in 2020. Hiša Franko got directly 2 red stars and 1 green, and 2 years later the 3rd one. I'm still like not understood by my people, because they think the food is a nutrition and it has nothing to do with art. While whoever sits here probably understands that food is art, and it's the expression of what we actually, who we are, the legacies and the future. That's why the dish that we are presenting today, it's something extremely simple, yet it's the only signature dish of Hiša Franko. Where is Jure? Jure? Hey, come. It's the only signature dish of Hiša Franko. I don't believe in I really believe that in whatever you do in a creative world should always be creative. It means when you're stuck in creativity, when you don't push yourself out of the comfort zone, you die sooner or later. So I say to myself at the moment, I can't think anymore about what I'm gonna cook tomorrow or what Hiša Franko will have new on the menu. I'm just going to stop it. It's senseless, because when automatism comes to the fine dining, This means that people get bored while they're cooking, and it at the same time means they don't use their brain anymore, they don't have adrenaline anymore, then it's just better to quit. So, but I allowed this dish to become a part of like never-ending menu, let's call it this way, because it speaks about who we are and where we come from. So maybe I'll just introduce you quickly about Hiša, Franko. It's on the far west of Slovenia. So if Slovenia looks far away, we are really far away. We are on, we live on the Italian border. It's a kind of a far west of Slovenia. You need at least 2 hours from whichever destination from Slovenia to reach us. When I started cooking, I first needed to find producers who would like to work with us, who wanted to share ingredients with us. It was a never-ending learning process because, you know, to be a farmer is one thing. To be a farmer who works with a restaurant is another thing. It means like when I was knocking on the door of the farmers and I was saying like, hey, I know you're having lambs. Do you think you could share some lambs with us? They would be like, yeah, sure, no problem. But then these lambs came in the shape of the sheep, and they had like 25 kilos, and they were green by the color. And I was like, where the hell did you keep your lamb? And they were like, yeah, we have no refrigerators, let's say. So, and the same was with vegetables. Like the harvest season was 1 day for one ingredient. Like they just picked all the green beans, for instance, and they would bring them to the house, and I have 300 kilos of green beans, and I was like, okay, wait a second, like, can we distribute this in time? Can something happen in your mind while you are planting so we can actually have products through the harvesting season? The learning process is still going on, and it's still not the easiest. Jure, how many producers do we have to call every time we order things? Like 10. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, it's like one is harvesting maybe wild berries, the other one is a real forager, and with the foraging we are really opening a lot of new doors. But then farmers have these great ideas, let's say, they find us as a great motivation to earn some extra money, but we need papers. Amazing. So something is coming from the sky. So to explain to a farmer that Hiša, Franko is a restaurant that needs papers, that needs vet controls, and to convince them that it makes sense for them to organize themselves, something to happen, has lasted for 25 years. Now it looks like we are in a trend, but we've been always working exactly this way. We skipped a kind of like a big history between what has been going on in the gastronomy for so many years, because we didn't have a chance to realize anything else but being very confident in local product and using super micro local product. When you climb on the top of the mountain, you can see all the producers we are using. So you can see the sea, you can see the Istria, where we get the truffles from, which are not French truffles, but they are Eastern truffles. And then, of course, like the meadows, the rivers, the forest. 10 years ago, one journalist wrote an article and he said, what an incredible cuisine with such poor products. And I was like, what the hell do you mean? Like, we're poor products? But, you know, in the mind of people, the trout is still a poor product. In the mind of people, game is still a poor product. I mean, we should all eat langoustine and truffles because they have bigger value. What is a bigger value? That's always the question that we keep on asking ourselves. Therefore, with Jure, we will present you a dish that is called €1 potato. So, yeah, okay. So I'm not faking. I'm really presenting you €1 potato. So this potato costs €1. I don't know when you went to the store and paid €1 for potato. The story goes that we created this dish, and I'll explain you the story about it, which was focused on a traditional dish that is chompa scuto, so that is potato and fermented cottage cheese. And the fermented cottage cheese happens in the mountain while the cows are doing transhumance. It means they go from lower pastures to higher pastures in the summertime. And yeah, the valleys are so low and the mountains are so high that these cows cannot just, the farmers cannot just go every day to the valley to store the cottages. So they ferment it. So they use big wooden barrels. They put the cottages in, then they spread some salt on, then more cottages, salt on. The weight actually release all the liquids. That's the secondary way that makes the product bitter in the case it lasts too long time. And this product is stable, but it works. It's still alive. So in the winter we have it in the caves or in the cellars, and it gets spicy and really sour, and more spicy and really sour. So in the tradition, to balance it, they were eating like just simply boiled potato together with it. So when I was looking for great potato, I talked to Micha, the farmer, who has a farm on 800 meters, and I asked him for precisely the size of potato. It's something in fine dining we never talk about, but do you know how much effort it takes to keep this size of potato? It needs to be this size, not smaller, not bigger, because then the cooking time is different. Then you are not in 3 Michelin star standard anymore because the potato is overcooked or undercooked. And he said, yeah, sure, it's a lot of work. It's like a biodynamic farm. And he was like, so let's talk about the price. And I said, name it, because I never discussed the price with farmers. And he was like, €1. I was like, okay, great, €1, fine. I was like, per kilo. And he was like, no, per potato. So, and I said, okay, we'll survive, because it's the main ingredient. And when the first order came to the house and there was the invoice, my head chef Yvonne called me and she was like, Jesus, he got crazy. He charged us €200 for 200 potatoes. And I was like, yeah, chef. And she was like, should I just send it away? And she was like, no. I was like, it's a deal. And since then, we are paying €1 for one potato, this size. Wait a second, I'll make you feel how this potato looks like. Wow. It's this size. Amazing. Yeah, but it's really good. So here is the question that I'm putting to everyone. I know you like cooking lessons and whatever. We will do one. It's going to be fun. But when the restaurants are buying products, when you go to the restaurant, what are you looking for? Only once in the 2.5 years that we have 3 Michelin stars, one person said, I think you should have more rich products. And I was like, what do you mean by rich products? And he was like, rich products. And I was like, tell me, rich products. And he was like, rich products. And I was like, what is wrong with the potato? You know how much effort a farmer needs to implement to grow this beautiful potato? And he was like, yeah, but potato is not a rich product. And I was like, so what defines a rich product? Tell me. It can be a discussion afterwards. What's a rich product? So Hiša Franko has the food cost of, I think, 13%, 1-3. which is extremely low, and I never discuss the price with farmers. But the labor cost is more than 60%. It means we are taking these products and we are working with them. So if you ask me, what is a creativity? Is when you are out of your comfort zone, out of your box, and you force yourself to be creative with what we all define simple products. So with Jure, we will present you the potato that is cooked in a hay crust and served with the fermented cottage cheese, which comes from high mountains, with bee pollen and some hay powder. This dish is a storyteller. And I think storytelling in the restaurant is really important because we can all copy-paste and we can all do Mexican, Italian, or which Japanese cuisine that everybody loves. But sometimes we need to understand who we are, where we are, why we are cooking particular ingredients, when we are cooking particular ingredients. So this potato, Jure, maybe we can start. So this is hay that comes from. Are you having a camera? Yeah. So this hay is August hay, which is harvested normally at the end of the month in the valley, while the cows are in a high mountain. You can smell it, it's amazing.
Yeah, no.
While the cows are in a high mountain eating their regular grass. And you know why transhumance started? I don't know if everybody knows about transhumance. It's a process when in the beginning of May, cows go to the high mountain and they stay up until mid-October. In the meantime, the farmers are cutting the grass in the valley for the winter food. So they simply dry it. There is no silage or anything. There is, I don't know if you can see, there are wildflowers inside. So the third harvest, which is the August harvest, which we call Otava, is actually the best one because it has a lot of wild chamomile, a lot of wildflowers inside. So we dry it a little bit more than the farmers do for the cows. And then we powder it. While we are powdering it, we usually use masks because how many of you know that you are allergic to the pollen? Maybe half. But when you are mixing like hay like this, it's really strong. So everybody starts sneezing and not feeling well. So we are using mask while we are powdering it. And then we simply do a dough out of the... Go. It's going to be loud. We break a lot of machines because of the hay. So we just... Because the powder needs to become a powder, I don't know if there is, it needs to become a powder like this. We create then a dough out of the egg whites, salt, and hay. And maybe you, yeah, I mean, you can, yeah. Maybe we make it smell to people. So, the dough is like, you know, when you cook a fish in, when you cook a fish in salt crust, it's similar, just that it's based on hay. And then you will see, we will like fold potatoes into the paste. It really needs to be beautiful. It looks like precious stones. And then we bake it for 45 minutes in the oven on 160 degrees. That's more or less the time if the potato has the right size. And then when it's served, we ask people to break a crust, smell it. The smell brings you to hide in the high mountains, like sleeping in a hay bed, waking up in the morning, having a glass of milk, whatever. And then you take the potato with your hands You eat it with your hands, you sprinkle around a little bit of the crust, and then eat it with the fermented cottage cheese, a little bit of the hay salt powder, and honey and bee pollen. Why honey and bee pollen? Slovenia is an extremely green country, and that says the honey can't be better than in the greenest countries. And we are probably one of the most important honey and side product countries in Europe, production countries in Europe. And in Hiša, Franko, we substitute practically all sugar with the honey. And honeys have so many layers. There is like, I don't know, forest honey or chestnut honey or buckwheat honey that is so deep in umami, by the way. That's a point of umaminess. Or you have like the flower honey or dandelion honey, which have a lot more like round sweetness. But this is like a field that nobody really speaks a lot about it. For Hiša, Franko, this is really important. So we kind of try to express ourselves through the faces of the producers that are producing for us. Sometimes people say, oh, and you cook a traditional cuisine? I'm like, no, not really even close. But I'm trying to use the legacy to create the future, and I think it's really important. So here is the, yeah, so here is the, did you put the salt already inside? So he mixed the salt together with the hay, and he will be adding the egg whites. We have them like this because it's easier. I mean, in the kitchen sometimes you can't be too romantic. He will create a dough to actually then coat these beautiful young potatoes into the...
You want the €1 potato from Jonathan? You need?
No, I think he can have it for the good luck.
No, dame el euro. Jonathan.
No inflación. No inflación, 10 euros.
El euro. Claro, claro. ¿Qué te crees tú? ¿Que esto es gratis? Venga.
So while Jure is doing it, if somebody has any questions, feel free to ask or to... okay, the idea is this is a way of cooking. You can cook whichever, let's say, root vegetable like that. It can be a carrot. It can be parsley root or parsnip. Just watch out, because if you use a straw and not a hay, it's just wrong. I mean, you better use another ingredient. The cooking in salt and egg white is actually something that is a common technique. One chef once actually copied my dish, and he was from a center of a big city, and I was like, where the hell are you getting a hay from? Because when you cook with an ingredient, you should make sure that the ingredient makes a story. And the copy-pasting today, that's why my social media is dead, and I'm actually not following it, because I believe in the kitchen we should all realize ourselves and represent somehow our, can I have one? Represent our territory. So this is the beauty. It's really beautiful, and we will show you then later on how it comes out of the oven. And for the flavor, you have to come to Hiša, Franko. There is nothing else I can say. Maybe, you know what I'll do? So to make them feel a little bit the country. If somebody wants to try to make one, because it's not the easiest, you need to have pretty, like somehow a hand that works it out. But in the meantime, I will pass through the hay so you can smell it. And understand why I'm talking about Heidi. I don't know if you ever read Heidi, but Heidi and Swiss Alps transformed them to Slovenia, and it's Amavenka Pachenga. So, and this is the way it gets served in Hiša Franko. So we crack it slightly, not to make people, do too much work. So you open it, and then you take the potato out. It's cooked, so the 45 minutes are enough. You can take a little bit of the crust to spread it over. But actually the flavor of the hay already penetrates to the potato, so it's really incredible. And then we serve it. Can we show the fermented cottages? Yeah. You just do it. Okay. And we always ask people to eat it with hands, just to use the little spoon to spread over the fermented cottages. Okay. No, because I just broke this potato, so I was looking if there is another one. Okay, I'll try to close it beautifully. And you know what is the funniest thing? Sometimes people say, oh my God, it's just a potato. And then they finish the meal and they say, I'm like, did you have any favorites in the menu? And since 5 years, it's like, oh yeah, the potato. So there is where the story about a humble ingredient that can become a great ingredient, a storytelling ingredient. Can become a hero. Can I say it so? So this is how it is. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah. So for the flavor profile, Hiša Franko is in Kobarid in Slovenia. There is a flight from Madrid to Venice once per day.
Tenía una infinidad de preguntas para hacerte, pero es que las has respondido a lo largo de toda tu exposición.
Yes, I studied diplomacy, you know.
It's perfect. Solamente queda probar el plato.
No, Kobarid, Slovenia.
¿En Eslovenia?
I think there is a flight every day from Madrid to Venice.
Bueno, pues nada, pues no probaremos entonces el plato. Qué desgracia para mí, sobre todo. No para ustedes, que no hay para todos. Pero yo, la patata de €1, vamos, algún euro yo encima. Ha sido un placer, un enorme placer tenerte aquí en este escenario, tenerte en esta cumbre. Realmente tu cocina dice mucho de tu manera de ser. Está claro, gracias. Hay coherencia entre lo que cocinas, lo que vives, lo que transmites. Así que muchísimas gracias. Si alguien del público quiere hacer alguna pregunta, es el momento para hacerla. ¿Nadie quiere preguntar nada?
No sé si ya se ha explicado. ¿Qué significa el nombre de restaurante?
Hiša Franko. Hiša is a house. It means more home, actually. And Franko is my ex-father-in-law who lives together with me in the house, and they have gardens on the back of the house together with his wife. And when they opened the restaurant, I think in 1973, they named it Gostilna Franko, which would be, in Italian, you would say Trattoria Franko. And later on, when with my ex-husband we took over, we named it like to a home, because we all live there, because there are trouts, because there are gardens, because there is a small shop, because it's not just a restaurant, it's a lot of things. It's feelings, it's family connections. And so Franko is my ex-father-in-law, and I still very much love him.
¿Alguien más? Bueno, pues como decía antes, es un honor haberte tenido en este
Vamos
escenario.
a comer.
Bueno, por de pronto, antes de ir a comer, vamos a...